was there, this one guy come in, and I know he was limp and crippled like, and I watched him, and he went up to the desk and told him that he needs to see the doctor. He thinks he had a stroke. And so she said, well, the doctor will check it. So he sat down, and he said, I said, I hear you think you had a stroke. He says, yes. He said, I don't know for sure. He said, because I never did have none before. And I said, do you feel weak in any parts of your body? And he said, yeah, my right arm and right leg. I said, well, you've had a mini stroke, I imagine. And so I went on to the foot doctor. And then after I got a foot doctor, he was standing outside, him and another man, talking. And I said, did the doctor see you? And he said, yes. He said, she's seen me and I've had a stroke. They're going to put me in the hospital. And he said, I hope I don't stay like this. And I looked at him and I said, let me tell you something. I said, you don't have to stay like that. That's right. I said, there's a man up above can heal your body. Amen. I said, where you can walk normal. And you won't have no weakness in your body. And he says, you know, he says, I enjoy talking to you. And I said, you know, I don't know if you know Jesus or not. But I said, you know, it takes Jesus and the faith. You've got to have faith. If you have no faith, you might as well hang it up. Amen. Because if you don't have no faith, you ain't going to get healed. I'll tell you that right now. And I told him, I said, you know, I said, look at me. I said, I've had 22 mini strokes and 3 majors. I said, do I look like I'm dead? He says, no, you don't look like nothing's wrong with you. And I said, well, let me tell you. I said, pray to God that God will save your soul and give you the faith that He will heal your body. And I says, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to be praying for you. And I never did get his name. And so I was on the way home, and I said, God, I didn't even get that man's name. How am I going to tell anybody about him? And he said, Jewel, Mr. Jewel. So let's all pray for Mr. Jewel, that God will heal his body.
All right. Praise God.